Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie. On this channel I like to talk a lot about social justice issues and charities, basically things that affect people, ways to help them, etc. So today's topic is going to be Elon Musk and why he is problematic. This is literally my third time trying to film this video because my camera keeps messing up, so whatever comes out is what's gonna get posted. I do have to say I accidentally ran the dishwasher, so hopefully the sound of the dishwasher isn't too problematic in the background of this video, but either way it's getting posted. So everyone knows that Elon Musk teeters between being the second richest person in the world. He obviously is an entrepreneur. He's mostly known for Tesla and SpaceX, and he is a South African Canadian American inventor. He was born in South Africa. He is 49 years old, and he kind of has cultivated this personality of being like an internet troll type of angsty teenager personality, even though he's 49 years old. Some of the stuff he says, I'm not sure if that's just the character that he puts on or if it's actually him. Now, a lot of people also know that Elon Musk did host SNL, Saturday Night Live, in the States this past weekend. He did reveal his diagnosis of Asperger's.
I'm actually making history tonight as the first person with Asperger's to host SNL.
Which is important a little bit later. Asperger's is not the reason he's problematic, but it does kind of tie into a little bit of what I'll be talking about, you'll see. However, I do want to make clear that Asperger's is no longer technically a diagnosis. Asperger's and autism used to be two separate diagnoses, but now it's just basically collapsed into one, where Asperger's is essentially like low on the spectrum of autism, if that makes sense. So what he's essentially saying is that he has high functioning autism, he's low on the autism spectrum. There are a couple things about Elon Musk that I do have to point out just to make clear about his background and everything. There are some reasons, there are a lot of reasons that people could dislike him. I'm going to list some of those reasons, but there's only one reason I'm actually going to be talking about in this video. So first of all, he was born into a very wealthy family. I don't dislike him for that. He just kind of got dealt a pretty good deck when it came to financials. However, his father was abusive and he was bullied very terribly in school to the point where he was beaten up so badly he had to spend a couple weeks in the hospital. Elon calls himself a self-made billionaire. However, that's not entirely true. He didn't come from nothing. He did have a lot of privileges. For example, if I were to move somewhere and try to start a business, I would have no safety net. Like, if I failed, I would be living on the street. Whereas there are some people like Elon who have a safety net where, you know, if he's not quite making it yet, or if he did fail, he had people who could support him, who could pay his rent and things like that. But I digress. There are also some allegations, which I haven't looked into too seriously, that he essentially stole money from PayPal users using predatory methods, and he just generally has an inflated sense of self and kind of believes he can do anything. However, my main issues with Elon Musk are how he treats people. He allegedly treated his first wife very, very poorly. That's not really what this video is about specifically, but he allegedly told his ex-wife that he was the alpha, he had control, and said that he would fire her if she were an employee, and then shamed her for crying about their baby passing away. He was very skeptical about COVID. He was very vocal about it, especially on Twitter. He did not and does not really treat his employees great. He was very skeptical about the vaccines and masks, and he didn't help a lot of pretty much the younger generation that tends to follow him. He didn't help as far as their COVID skepticism was concerned. Elon Musk actually tweeted, "Pronouns are stupid." A lot of people felt that this was transphobic and just generally not kosher with today's society. And the kind of silly thing is, his own girlfriend identifies as non-binary, and she actually replied to the tweet and said, "I know that this isn't your heart." So it's one of those things where I don't know if he's being an internet troll and trying to be an angsty teenager and just tweet things just for attention, even if it's negative attention, or if he actually believes this stuff. And also, so many people called him out on the fact that he said pronouns are stupid when he literally named his child a random list of letters and numbers, apparently pronounced X-A-12. The last thing for this video that I'm going to say about pronouns, I might address it more in the future, is that we already refer to non-gender specific people as they. So for example, if, I mean, you see news articles all the time, or I'm sure you even do it when you're talking to people. If you want to say something about how maybe a bank robber robbed a bank and then ran away, but you don't know if it was a male or female, even if it was only one person, you would say they fled the scene of the crime. They is just a word that we use to refer to non-gender specific people, basically when we don't know. So that word is already used in the English language for that reason, and it's kind of unfortunately become a politicized topic when it's like already a thing that people already use in their vocabularies. And beyond that, literally everyone has pronouns. Mine are she, her, hers. Pronouns are just a thing that everybody has. Now, if you don't like someone's pronouns, that's a different story, but to say that pronouns are stupid is that's a very broad statement that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And beyond that, Elon said that pronouns are an aesthetic nightmare. Again, his child's name is an aesthetic nightmare. If you just want to talk purely about aesthetic. Elon Musk has also been one of the rich, famous people who touts his work ethic, how hard he works, and basically that because he works so hard, like, it's not luck, he just kind of earned his billions by virtue of the hard work that he did. That is a very American way of looking at things. However, I do think that thinking has permeated a lot of the world as well. Basically, if you just work harder, you too can become a billionaire. However, most of us know that that's not true. That's just kind of one of those things that newspapers and magazines and TVs, they just like to keep printing that, like to keep that in people's heads to try to keep people from just working instead of thinking and questioning why things are the way they are. And if you do take the time to think about it, you realize that the rich have a vested interest in convincing you that if you just work more, you'll become successful. And if you think about what work is essentially you just renting out your time to CEOs for X amount of dollars. That's all work is. Elon Musk tweeted, "Working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks in a year, and people still calling me lucky." He is lucky because there are so many people in the world who do work this hard and they will never be billionaires just by virtue of the fact that they weren't born with some of the privileges that he has. Imagine being a white man born in apartheid era South Africa saying that you don't have privileges, saying that you weren't somehow lucky. He's lucky that he wasn't born black in apartheid era South Africa. Like, it's just one of those things where privileges are things that you don't even realize that you have because they are just, because the whole point of a privilege is that it's something that you didn't earn, it's something that you didn't do something to get, and it's something that you don't even have to think about. Whereas, say, I have a whole nother video on privileges coming up, but just say that, like, I am a female and I don't park next to big white vans. I said that to my husband and he was like, wait, is it really that scary being a woman? That's literally something that I've never thought about. So that's just something that takes up headspace for a lot of women that doesn't take up headspace for men, and that's a privilege. Being white is something that has never really taken up headspace for me, and so that's a privilege. I would also argue that people get different outcomes from similar effort. He claims that he works hard, but so do poor people. Some poor people work so hard, and just by virtue of where they were born or the family they were born into, they're never even if they have an idea as good as or better than Elon, they will never be able to secure financing for a loan for this great idea. They will never get their business off the ground. And unfortunately, the American dream ignores all of these lies and holds up this story as proof that if you sacrifice and work more and more hours, you're also going to be a billionaire. And it's just not how it works. Working more doesn't get you rich. It's often a combination of privilege, a lot of luck, being in the right place at the right time, and yeah, some like skill and charisma and intelligence, but a lot of it is luck, and people are reluctant to admit that a lot of something is luck because it's almost like people take it as a slight on their hard work. And trust me, like, I've been there. I used to think a lot of these things, and since I've done like a lot of reading and thinking and I realized that I have a lot of privileges and a lot of luck. I wasn't born in Mozambique, or I wasn't born in Madagascar, or I wasn't born to a family living in the slums of the Philippines or India. And that by itself is luck, because nobody chooses where they were born. And then there are so many other things that once you start really thinking about it, there also is a big element of being in the right place at the right time, just as, you know, being in the wrong place at the wrong time can get you into a lot of trouble. Being in the right place at the right time can get you to be very successful. Some people are probably like these fantastic singers, but they live somewhere where there's no TV, no access to reality TV shows, no access to auditions, no access to talent agents. Literally nobody except the village that they live in is ever going to hear them sing. They're never going to be billionaires. They could practice singing all day, every day, but they're never going to reach the notoriety that someone like Carrie Underwood or Kelly Clarkson did by winning American Idol. And when you think about those, I mean, those things really are injustices, because there are some people who are so talented, they might be very talented at a specific sport that they'll never get to play, and we'll never know about their talent because they never got to play that sport. Imagine if you take every child in the world and have them do... So I did gymnastics growing up, and I coached gymnastics, or I used to, and judged gymnastics, and that's a lot of kind of what I'm familiar with. And there are a lot of children who cannot afford gymnastics. It is a cost prohibitive sport for a lot of people, especially at the higher levels and the travel involved. There are some countries that don't even have gymnastics teams. And the time I was in Kenya, we were driving down the street, and there were these two little kids just kind of like doing flips on the side of the street. They taught themselves, I'm sure, because it was just in the middle of nowhere, like a village in Kenya. These two little kids were kind of running. I wish I took a video. And they were like stepping on top of a mound and flipping forward off of it. And there was like a little boy who was doing it, and he was having fun. There was a little girl who was doing it, and I just looked at her in complete shock. Her technique was flawless, and it's so sad that child is never going to see the inside of a gym. She could be the greatest that there ever was, but we'll never know because she doesn't have the privilege of attending private facilities. I feel like I went off on a little tangent there, but Elon Musk saying that he is self-made, that he earned all his money just because he worked hard and not because of luck, is really problematic. It's a really problematic way of thinking that happens in this country, but he just happens to be a very prominent person who repeats those types of things over and over. So I just wanted to make this video and make people aware that working yourself to death is not the answer. Oh, and also I mentioned the Asperger's, where, you know, if he does have this high functioning autism, then his brain is more capable of sitting down for 100 hours a week and focusing on something than someone who has more of a neurotypical brain. And that also honestly is a privilege when it comes to people who are these very high level inventors, creators. I wouldn't be surprised to find out if maybe Bill Gates also had it. And for a neurotypical person to sit down and work themselves to the bone for 100 hours a week mentally is a lot more taxing than it is for someone like him. So a lot of things, a lot of these lies that are perpetuated in society and then perpetuated again by these rich famous people who just want to believe that the only reason they have all the money they have is because they worked hard and not for a variety of other reasons, is problematic in society, and it makes people kind of look down on others who don't have a lot of money, and the poorer people get looked down upon as if they don't work hard, but actually they might even actually work harder.